there! A while back, I purchased a pack of Arteza Watercolor brushes. Now, this big pack here comes and goes. You can get it in smaller sizes and get each pack to build up to this bigger set of what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I swear I had more. I might have lost some. But either way, they're all made of the same material, so it's not a big deal. So today I was going to play with them and let you know what I think. So my go-to brushes as of the date I am filming / publishing this are Princeton Neptunes. Absolutely love these things. And the silver black velvet watercolor brushes. Now I typically go with round brushes. As you can see, these are both very different in the way they round out. And also the size actually, or length of it. See how the number 12 here is a little longer? That's just, every brand is unique. And also keep in mind, numbering is not universal. I actually have a number 12 silver black velvet that is not even as fat and juicy as this one. So every brand varies on what their sizing actually means. So you have to keep that in mind. In fact, what size is this? This is a 16. Here is Arteza's round number 12. Now look at the comparison to my Neptune when we talk about the chunky monkiness. Now they are almost the same in length, sort of, but this is a lot thinner than this bad boy. So that is interesting as always to see. But yeah, I thought I would play with some of these, just do a few like strokes and whatnot on my sketchbook. I already have some Daniel Smith watercolors here from when I swatched them literally 20 minutes ago for another video. So I figured let's use up our expensive paint, no paint goes to waste, and play around. So I have a flat brush that I might try for a wash. I have their 20 round. This thing is huge. It's actually, and their brushes are longer. In fact, I need to show you guys that. Okay, I wanted to show you guys this. Oops, sorry, this one's wet, so it's gonna manipulate. Look at the length of these brushes. They're pretty long. So yeah, compared to my Princeton Neptune, even their, I think even their 12 round. Yep, see, much longer. So that's going to be interesting because it's longer than your standard brush. And this thing is heavy. Holy cow. This thing is huge. Okay. We also have a 16 round, a 12 round that I showed you all, a number 8 round. That thing is tiny. Okay, and then we have a 2 round. And then we have some daggers. So we have a 1/4 inch dagger. We also have an 18 flat and a 6 flat. We have a number 2 angle. And we have a number 12 cat's tongue. Now I'll be honest, I typically use round brushes. I do use cat's tongue. I'm trying to perfect the art of using the dagger. And the only time I break out flat brushes is big ones like this for washes, or like when I want to do wet on wet. So I may not use these smaller flat ones, but the whole point is just to see what I think of them and show you guys. So I'm going to use, man, this would be great for an ASMR video, right? All that clanking. I'm going to use my Etcher cold press book here. Let me just find a page. I need my little clippy. Don't you love when you don't have enough space in? There we go. Okay, I need my paints off to the side. All right. So let's start with this number 16. Just gonna get it wet. So it wets up really nice. Let's see how it holds. I'm gonna get some of this permanent alizarin crimson. We're just gonna, hopefully the camera's not gonna zoom in, zoom out, but got some loose straggler bristles, but that's okay. It is already drying out though, but I'll dip it in the water. I'm not doing anything fancy. Dip it again. It's holding a lot of pigment, actually. I'm quite surprised at how much pigment is still holding on strong. Then again, alizarin crimson is pretty thick on my palette right now. Look at that. It's still going. Still going. It does dry pretty quickly though. I can feel it drying out. But overall, that wasn't too bad. All right, let's go with their cat's tongue here. Let's see how this one works out. Okay, I'll grab just a random color. Like I said, I'm just trying to use up this palette. See how it dries at the end there? It's not holding much water. Let me dip it again. So let's try. Let me get a little, dip it in the water a little more, get a little more pigment. These might just require a little more work. Yeah, they seem dry at the end, but this time it's holding, and there we go. It's holding more water now, so let's see. This number 16 is, or this number 20, I mean, is something I would never, that's too big. I'm gonna grab this big flat brush though. My water is very dirty. So if you see a grayish color or a muddyish watercolor, that is not paint. I'm actually just putting water on the page. I just wanna see if I can get, yeah, so it does take a little while to get these to hold some water. And I'm not even focusing on what these are made out of, because there's times I have gotten brushes made out of the wackiest synthetics, and I like them more than, you know, my more expensive brushes. So it's really important just to, I like to just test the performance. I did get that pretty wet, but, or as wet as I could. So that's what I use flat brushes for. It's just if I want to do some manipulation. I'm gonna dip this in water though, because this is not moving. So I guess I need a little more water in there. It's drying fast and it's not, well, it is Utah and it's pretty dry and arid around here, but I'm not outside, so. But I do have this pesky vent right above me, and so when the heater is on, it actually dries my watercolors a little faster. It's, I didn't think of that when I put my desk here, but I wanted the view. Let that dry. Okay, let's try some of these smaller rounds. I'm gonna go with the 12 round. I'm gonna give it a really good swoosh in the water and try to get it to soak up just a little bit more here, because I want to see. Let's grab blue for this one. There we go. I'm getting a lot of water and a lot of pigment on it. I just want to see if it holds a little stronger with more water. Oh yeah, there we go. There we go. Not bad. Not bad at all. Okay. So it just takes a little bit more finessing, you know. If you're used to brushes that kind of soak up water easily, like a Neptune, you're probably gonna notice this needs a little bit more work, but once you get it going, it seems to hold all right. Let's see how it does with, it's hard to get a thin, there we go, thin squigglies. Just testing to see. Now this one's really wet, because like I said, otherwise it dries. See, it's already drying out. Okay, let's try our little This is their 8 round, which is a really small 8 from what I'm used to with other brands. Sorry, I got rolling watercolor brushes. I'm going to try again also to get a lot of water and pigment on it, because it seems to be, it needs a little bit more work on that. Not bad, not bad. It's drying out on me though. There we go. Work with me, brush. So it just needs a little bit more loving with the water and pigment. But I mean, this is a pretty affordable set of brushes. Jumbo size order of brushes too, so you got to keep that in mind. Considering the price tag on these, that's actually not too bad when it comes to how much pigment and water it's holding. They rinse out really nicely as well, so I'm liking that. As always, nothing worse than a brush that just doesn't want to let go. That said, I do see some staining already on these, and I'm not using a very staining watercolor. Now, you have to keep in mind, Neptune, for example, much darker color to their bristles than these bad boys. So you're going to see your color more. It's kind of like using the snap brushes, which are white. You know, you get a ton of color on that brush, but it's just stained. So you got to keep that in mind. So I'm not judging them for that. All right, let's see how this color. I'm just gonna make a little itty bitty rose. Just playing around with it. I want to see how it does with my C curves. There we go. Yeah, so I think I've nailed what it needs. It just needs a, oops. It needs to smack the camera. Let's test that. It needs a little bit more priming is all. So if you're used to those juicy brushes, like Neptune, Silver Black Velvet, where they just suck up that water. In fact, these are a lot like the snap brush, but look how it's holding. It's holding its point really well. But yeah, these are kind of like the snap brushes where you just kind of have to make sure you're priming it, getting a lot of water in there, which this is watercolor. So, yeah, you just have to kind of treat them almost like the snap brush. Yep, because see, now I'm getting perfect amount of water on there. It's working well. So yeah, this brush is holding its pigment and its water nicely now. Grab my cat's tongue and see if it'll do the same thing now that I've gotten it a little bit more wet. Oh yeah, oh yeah. So just treat it like a snap brush, which are great brushes, by the way. I love those things, and they're cheap. So cheap. But yeah, this is working out much better. And look at the, yeah, look at the tip on that cat's tongue. And you can still make a little rose. They are stiffer, so if you're used to like the squishiness, as I'll call it, of the Neptune or even like the Silver Black Velvet, you're not going to have that same squishy feel. These definitely have more of a, oops, I got a gloop of tube paint there. These definitely have a stiffer feel to them, but actually these aren't bad at all. Need more water though. The cat's tongue does dry out a little faster, but like I said, it reminds me a lot of the snap brush. So if you're used to the snap brushes, then you're probably going to be familiar with these. So yeah, I think I played around enough. So I basically used our 24 flat, our 12 round, which is like a 6 round, our 12 cat's tongue, our 16 round, our 8 round, And I can even pull out the liner. Ooh, this is loose though. It's jiggling. Yeah, so just FYI there, it's really jiggly. I'm gonna have a jiggly brush. Yep, perfect lines for a nice small little one. Of course, I've had a lot of coffee today, so making really teeny lines is a little harder, but I mean, look at beautiful. Perfect for all those grass effects. Again, you just got to keep this nice and full of paint and water. Let's grab some this blue here and just throw it in there. I make fantasy grass. But yeah, it's holding very well now, as long as I just keep wetting it. And look at that. It's got a great point. Now let's try this. I always laugh when people cringe if you do that. You're not gonna hurt. You won't hurt your brush. Ta-da! And even if your brush gets all smushy, like if it's a softer, and it gets a little smushed, just reform it after you wet it and rinse it off, and there you have it. So there's some techniques with watercolor where you need to do that. I can try this Dagger real fast and just see. I'm running out of paper space, but that's okay. Ooh, this isn't, I didn't prime it enough with water, but I'm just trying the different sides of it. Yeah, this one needs more water on it. So yeah, they'll just have to be really saturated and then they'll start working for you. It is a long dagger though too, so if you're used to the shorter ones, this is kind of reminds me of the silver black velvet daggers. They're longer than some other brands, so this is a longer one, which makes it even harder for me because I struggle even with the short ones. But overall, these aren't bad actually, considering what I paid for them and got that many paintbrushes. Yeah, these are nice. They hold their point. I can make my leaves and even my little strokes here. Granted, I typically go loose florals, so out of this entire set, you know, I would use this 20 if I was doing something on a bigger scale, but I would most likely only use their 12 and 16 because those are about the size of brushes I normally play with. So that's the only thing to also keep in mind as you look at this little testing is, yeah, you know, I'm more apt to use those sizes, but they are holding their water just fine now. I'm loving it. So perfect. Well, yeah, that's a nice little demo of these Arteza Premium watercolor brushes. If you don't have the nicer brushes, such as the Neptune, Silver Black Velvet, you know, all those, these wouldn't be bad for a beginner, to be honest. They're actually quite nice, as long as you're prepared to keep getting them really saturated before you start painting with them, a lot like that snap brush. So if you own the snap brushes, then I wouldn't recommend going for these because you are pretty much getting something with a similar feel. I mean, these are pretty stiff. So, but I love the snap brush too. So yeah, overall, not bad. If you have these, let me know what you think. If you've played around with them, if you've also noticed they really do need to get super, super wet before they can perform. Whereas like this one, I can just dip in there and she's gonna soak up all that water. But she's a thirsty brush, so got to keep that in mind. But thank you everyone for hanging out with me while we played with some Arteza Premium watercolor brushes. I will leave links in the description below to the brush sets, even my sketchbook in case you are interested, because this is the only thing I use. I wish I could afford to use arches every day, all day, but a girl has a budget. So I hope you all are doing well, and until next time, take care. Bye now.